Fog. This should be fun to watch. I know players and viewers, they loved watching Turbo Fog earlier here from James Newman, and it was a joy to watch him. We'll see if he can do it again as he starts off with the Thornwood Falls. We're underway here in round number 9.
Orbs of Warding, potentially a very big card in the matchup for James.
Okay. Not a card we expected to talk about very much coming into this weekend, that's for sure. But it could play a big role. A Den Protector face up. So beatdowns then?
If Steve is doing this, he must know what he's up against.
Perhaps.
That's just such an aggressive
It was
play.
a big talk of the tournament. Here's Llanowar Waste. There's a Death Mist Raptor. He's looking to go beatdowns. Newman will draw a card. He'll play a Radiant Fountain. He'll gain some more life. What's next? Scopius Sphinx's Tutelage. Steve will take a look. We can do the same. For those of you who haven't seen the Tutelage.
But this is good news for Steve. What you really want to avoid at this stage of the game is James landing one of the card drawing cards, either Monastery, Siege, or Dictate of Krufix. Those are the really dangerous cards.
Yeah.
Because once James gets the card advantage going, once he's drawing a bunch of extra cards, well, then he keeps the fogs going and you eventually get done in.
Steve will take a look at the top card. It's going to become the bottom card. There's Obzon Charm. He's going beatdowns.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to.
Well, he knows there aren't that many cards in his deck that do anything.
Yeah. Tutelage, not really off against Obzon. I don't think it's going to hit very much. 3-color deck. There's another Radiant Fountain.
These are some unorthodox plays from Steve, but given the matchup, he knows what he needs to do.
Yep. Newman at 17, he'll pass the turn back. Rubin going to come across here. The follow-up looks like it's going to be a face-down Den Protector, and it is. Going to pass the turn back. Here's a Dictate of Krufix. That means Newman gets to draw the cards first. So draw 1, triggers Sphinx's Tutelage. Just 2 lands. Draw again, triggers Sphinx's Tutelage. 2 more lands, no big deal. There's a land. Here, you might want to tap a little bit differently.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yep.
Don't want to get yourself killed.
Gotta leave that fog mana open. There is another Sphinx's Tutelage. Pass the turn back. Got an Unmorphed Den Protector. He'll get a counter. See what it's going to return. Didn't get a great look. I think it was the Obzon Charm.
He's got lethal on the table, so nothing matters except drawing cards and finding Thoughtseize.
Sure.
Creatures are irrelevant, so the best thing he can do there is get back Obzon Charm.
Steve gets to draw 2 now because of the Dictate of Krufix.
James, very generous guy.
Super nice. Beatdowns. Fog. Defend the Hearth, to be exact. Got a reader.
Yep. Didn't have to read Sphinx's Tutelage or Dictate of Krufix for the record, but...
See what's next. Obzon Charm going to draw Steve some cards. Life total doesn't matter much.
Nope.
You could say pay 10 life to draw 2 and he'd do it. Six cards in hand.
Already doing the count.
Yeah. I understand this is a name in Steve Rubin, a player that you are going to see a lot over the next couple of years playing Magic. He is very, very good. 2-time Open Series champion, won 2 last year. Platinum level Magic player. Brainchild behind Ari Lax's design of Obzon that he won the Pro Tour with. See if he can overcome this matchup. A couple of cards being turned over here from Sphinx's Tutelage. There are some copies. He's got to keep going. Jeez. That's pretty good Sphinx's Tutelage. Now, draw another card from Dictate of Krufix. Do it again. Hit one. Another trigger. Okay. Gotta go again. Gotta go again. Black, black. Yep. All right. Siege right on top of the deck. Does he have a fog effect? Because he needs one. Does he have Aether Spouts? Because he needs that. Does he have to try to do it with Days Undoing? It's all very unclear at this point. There's a Temple. Take a look at that top card.
Yeah, this is the awkward thing about the deck is the reset is a total reshuffle.
Mm-hmm. It is super awkward, but it worked out for him last time he was playing against Merriam. He's got to work his way into a fog. He doesn't have a choice.
And remember, this does not work with Sphinx's tutelage because the turn ends.
Yep. And keep in mind, there are 8 fogs in this deck. 4 Defend the Hearth, and then 4 Winds of Qual Sisma.
Got it.
Sisma. Super easy card to say. So this is where things get a little bit more interesting. Both players going to draw 7 cards here.
But James is on, find a fog or dead.
Correct. He's on 8 outs. He's found one. Looks like he's found 2. And Steve's got to reveal these cards because Courser's on the battlefield.
Ah.
He also has to reveal the top card, I believe. See both players, a little bit of conversation here. Now, there will be no tutelage triggers because, again, Days Undoing just ends the turn.
Yeah. It's time stop, so all triggers that are floating around,
They're gone.
They're gone. The thing is, even though it's awkward, the Days Undoing non-synergy with the mill out strategy, this deck mills out so fast that it's not the end of the world.
No, it's really not. Dictative Crew Fix causes Steve to draw 2 cards. You saw him reveal them both. Now he's on top of the deck. He has Urboard. And this is one of the few times where I don't think you want to play lands at the top of your deck with Courser.
He still needs to give himself as many looks at Thoughtseize as possible. I suppose it's the extra land doesn't matter for very much.
Yeah. Well, he will take Urboard. Gain a life, top card, Obzon Charm. He's going to cast Obzon Charm to draw 2 cards. Charm is 1. Den Protector is 2. Top card, Citadel.
But you can see where the power of the FOD deck comes from here.
Oh, absolutely.
There's just nothing but dead cards in Sea of Hand.
Yep.
Nothing he draws matters except for Thoughtseize.
Oh, you can see it. And it's crazy to watch in action. It really is. So there's your fog. Here's a morph. It's a Den Protector.
Yeah, James can keep the fogs going, especially if he finds Orb of Warding. Then I think he's getting closer and closer to getting it sewn up.
Mm-hmm. 2 list triggers from the Dictate. Let's do it again. Falsi's on top. That's going to get milled.
But that's not bad news for Steve, as he has a den protector.
Yeah. Not the end of the world.
Unless James has the orb.
Yeah, orb plus fog in one turn.
Oh, yeah. That's how you draw it up.
That's how James drew it up. I don't know anybody else. Gain a little bit of life with the Radiant Fountain.
Days Undoing in Treasure Cruise also is a little sad. It's not exactly how you want to draw it up, you know?
That's a little of this, a little of that.
Yeah, it's not great.
That's what that is.
No one's judging. I mean, it's, you know, deck's got to be built how it's got to be built.
He's only got so many resources.
Right.
At the end of the day, you do you. Beatdowns. Why do I want an Aether Spout so bad right now?
That's what the
Yes! Boom! Kaboom! Your choice, top or bottom.
Yeah.
Your choice.
Remember, they all just get milled over anyway.
They sure do. The ultimate fog. Well, here's Den Protector. It's gonna unmorph. Gets
And
a card back.
this is so brutal because it's important for Steve to apply lethal every turn.
Yep.
You need to be testing James to have a fog every single turn. If you had to spend some turns rebuilding your board and you're not applying lethal, that's a lot of cushion for James to develop his land drops, to set up treasure cruises, whatever else he wants to do.
Yeah, it's horrible news. So here we are. We'll see where they go. I'm with you. I don't think it matters too much. I suppose he would want Deafness Raptors in the bin since they can come back.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
So that's a minor thing. Smart play by Steve there. You guys didn't get a great look at it, but I think he shuffled all the cards around so that it's kind of a mystery of where they're going.
that is a solid play, though. At the end of the day, I don't think James cares.
Yeah, it's a super minor thing, but it's like something that we see when Redo draws his card and shuffles his hand around.
Yes.
Just trying to get every advantage that you can.
Yeah, don't let someone track the cards that you have in your hand.
Yeah. It's like when you sideboard in all 15 cards, even if you don't plan on sideboarding anything in.
Yeah.
Just don't let them get an advantage. Keep them guessing. Some are going to go on top. Looks like a bunch are going to go on top. Is it Obzon Charm time, perhaps? Yeah. See, the thing is now, though, and you mentioned it, Steve's got to present lethal every turn. Now, James has got, 2 turns?
Yeah.
To get things figured out because he's not underneath pressure?
Siege Rhino is a card that he has to concern himself
Absolutely.
with. But he does have a lot of cushion now.
Here's a morph. He can't get lazy because Siege Rhino can burn him out. Steve will discard a couple of cards, Deafness Raptor among them. James will draw, that's 1. Tutelage. Another tutelage. Okay, so a couple Deafness Raptors. Now he's got to go again with tutelage. Now he's got to go again. Okay. So now he gets to draw another card. Tutelage trigger. They don't share. They don't share. So, let's see what's next. An island. We'll take a look at the graveyard. Now, Deafness Raptors are down there. We can't forget that. Those can come back from unmorphing a Deafness Raptor or a Den Protector.
I mean, this could be Steve's whole deck here.
It could be.
And James with the mana left over to fog if it comes up. He doesn't even have to.
You see every single one. Every single card that's drawn is at least 4 cards in Sphinx's 2 list. Yeah, he's just done. James Newman's going to win game number 1 here over Steve Rubin. Turbo Fog is up a game over Obzon Megamorph. This is an impressive deck to watch. When it gets going, it seems like it's impossible to stop.
It has been these mid-range attacking strategies that don't have a lot of pressure, don't have a lot of disruption. They're getting chewed up.
Yeah.
I mean, these games have all felt. We've watched James on camera now. That's the 3rd game we watched him. Both games against Ross and that game against Steve felt like he was in control from start to finish.
And both times where he's had to cast Days Undoing, you and I have always felt this is a little bit scary and risky, but it's worked out just fine.
Yeah, well, he's got 8 looks at it, and there's going to be some spots where he has enough mana where Aether Spouts also qualifies as an out.
Yep.
It's not the way you would prefer to do it, but so it goes.
It's a way to do it, and he's
Exactly.
he's milled his opponent out post Days Undoing in like 2 turns.
Yeah. It feels like a reset, but once he has that sort of board set up, it does not take him very long to mill someone out.
Sideboard here for Steve Rubin. Let's see what he's got.
2 copies of Ultimate Price, 2 copies of Nissa Worldwaker, a Dramoka's Command, 3 copies of Drown in Sorrow, 2 copies of Ration Cleric, a Gaia's Revenge, a Tragic Arrogance, a Wingmate Rock, a Self-Inflicted Wound, and a Languish. So, in terms of cards that actually represent disruption, there's 2. The 1 copy of Dramoka's Command, James got a bunch of enchantments, and the 1 copy of Tragic Arrogance I think would be great for Steve in this matchup, because James needs a lot of cards in play, lands, and enchantments to keep his whole engine humming. So those 2 are solid. Beyond that, you're looking at, maybe Nissa and Gaia's Revenge are faster threats than something like Elspeth, and you make that sort of swap, but the only 2 cards in Steve's sideboard that feel meaningful are the Dramoka's Command and the Tragic Arrogance.
Well, let's take a look at the other side of things here for James. He's got a Dissolve, a Grind Clock, a Dragonlord's Prerogative, 2 Talents of the Telepath, a brand new card from Magic Origins, 3 Icefall Regents, 2 Disdainful Stroke, an Aether Spouse, that's the 4th one on the board, 2 Clash of Wills, a Pearl Lake Ancient, and an Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
So the problem here is I don't know when James goes to normal Magic cards like Icefall Regent. I'm not sure what his motive is there. And I'm not a big fan of Ugin for the matchup because James is also putting a lot of permanence in play himself. I'm fine with the counter spells and Dissolve, and I think the additional copy of Aether Spout is fine here. The 2 copies of Disdainful Stroke. I'm curious to know, when does he want cards like Icefall Regent?
Yeah, when do you get to take someone by surprise?
Right. What's the point of that sort of threat?
Yeah. Well, these players are going to get ready here for game number 2. We'll very quickly talk about the Star City Games newsletter. It's been revamped, it's been changed, and it's your source for Magic the Gathering news.
The best content both on the website and on the Open Series, curated by content coordinator Cedric Phillips. You get all of the latest news on the Open Series, plus a match of the week. You get exclusive deck lists and advice from some of our Star City Games premium columnists, and an exclusive cardboard crack comic. And best of all, it is free. Sign up now at starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Ah, the F word.
Free.
One of my favorite ones. Big fan of that word. Boy, I'm loving this deck by James Newman. I am. I can't hold it back. I was such a fan of Turbo Fog when I was young. I could never make it work. It was really annoying.
I can appreciate that Steve gave himself the best shot, though. Turn 2 face up, Den Protector. Turn 3 Death Misraptor. Turn 4 Obzon Charm. Put some counters on my Den Protector, attack you.
Put the pressure on you.
That's not the game that Obzon is built to play, but that was Steve's best shot, given that he didn't have a Thoughtseize. He went down that road. He came up short, but it was the best thing he could do.
That was the game that he was built to play.
Right.
For that particular game. I agree with you. It's certainly not the game that Obzon's built to play, but you know what? That is what it is. We'll see how it works out this time around. Rubin will be on the play. Thoughtseize is so important for Steve. He'll start with the Temple. Take a look at the top card. You wonder if this will be in people's gauntlets moving forward.
You got to at least be playing games against this. And a problem that Steve is having right now, no copies of Duress in the sideboard. We've seen a couple copies in most of the lists of Obzon we covered today. Steve very light on discard, and to me, in terms of normal sideboard cards, something that's not dedicated to being that deck, this deck, Duress has got to be the best card.
In basic planes here for Steve. He's going to go beat down again. Okay.
Oh, wow. This is This is both depressing and inspiring that Steve has bought into the Irrational Cleric.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Steve's sideboard, main deck rather, has a Languish, a Crux of Fate, an Ultimate Price, and 3 copies of Hero's Downfall. All essentially dead cards.
Those have got to go.
And Elspeth is pretty close.
Yep. Give me the Cleric.
Whoa.
Deathmiss Raptor on top of the deck. Here's an attack for 3. Newman's going to go down to 20. Whatever it takes, baby. Desperate times, desperate measures. I'm playing for day 2 here.
I appreciate his pluck. It's a bold move. He's on camera.
Yep. Here's a Rhino. 25 to 17 now. The Fogs don't have to start yet, but they're going to have to start pretty soon. Tutelage. That'll be a draw. Deathmiss Raptor and a Temple, so no tutelage. Den Protector on top of the deck. There's a Thornwood Falls. Pass that turn back. Rubin will draw. Thoughtseize on top of the deck.
And he did it without flinching. No hesitation. No shame.
Oh,
Just cast the Cleric.
yeah.
And you know what he also did?
What's that?
Announced the trigger. He
Don't
pointed.
forget.
He pointed at it.
I want my 3 life. Ain't nobody gonna stop Steve Rubin.
Wow.
He's coming in. He's gonna fog early. What do we have here? It's a morph. Newman will draw. He's gonna mill. Irrational Cleric, different color, thanks.
And listen, if James Aether Spouts it, put it on top of the deck, it's 3 more.
It sure is. It's definitely 3 more life. There's a land. Monastery Siege at the ready. Aether Spouts in hand 2 here for Newman. I think he's got to get a card drawing engine online, though.
Yeah, this deck does not defend itself all day long in the absence of one of the card drawing spells. Got to get it into play.
There's Monastery Siege. Probably be cons. See Rubin taking a look. Oh, he's going to go. Ooh, wow. He might be going dragons on this? To defend himself a little bit? Wow.
I mean, it's okay against discard spells, but Steve's not got anything else to do with his mana.
Yeah.
I suppose it makes it hard for Steve to get back a Thoughtseize this turn and cast it.
That'll be his entire turn if he does.
Well, he needs to have an untapped mana as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then it will require 5 mana to do.
So I suppose I buy dragons if James' plan here is to cast Days Undoing sometime in the near future. And then he's just worried about discard spells in the follow-up.
All right.
It would also explain why he was so quick to cast a Fog last turn, because it looked a little preemptive.
It did. It did.
So if he's just doing this with the intent of, all right, I'm going to Fog this turn as well, untap Days Undoing, most of the cards that you draw into that are relevant are discard spells, and they're going to cost your whole turn if you want to cast them, then that makes some sense to me.
Looks like some damage is going to be dealt here. Yep. All right, James. No card drawing engine yet. Tutelage. Doing a little bit of work here.
Got a match, Nissa and Rhino.
Yep. Den Protector's going to unmorph. Going to find a Thoughtseize. Bring back a Deafness Raptor. Yeah, that's it. His hand must not have been very good.
Yeah. Although, if his hand was that poor, then the Monastery Siege on Dragons is even more perplexing.
Yeah, because he's
got at least one more look at something.
He's got to draw. He's got to try to draw something. Yeah. So Steve Rubin's going to win game number 2 here over James Newman. You got to really believe that it was thanks to the Aeroshun Cleric there.
You got to try.
What else could it be? That's what I say.
That is digging deep. That is digging deep.
It's one of the things I love about Magic, man. Desperate times, desperate measures. You wouldn't really do this in any other circumstance, but I got to try.
Yeah, the only game plan Steve can do is cast a curve of creatures and back it up with discard spells and whatever little enchantment removal he has, the Tragic Arrogance and the Dromoka's Command. That's it. Anything else that doesn't play into that game plan is not worth having in the deck. So, yep, Aeroshun Cleric looks preposterous, but it's better than having dead removal spells. It's probably better than having Elspeth in the deck as well.
Well, game number 3 going to be underway here in just a moment. We will very quickly talk about the Star City Games YouTube page, where you can go back and watch this tournament because there are a lot of awesome matches to watch. And this is just day 1. You have to imagine tomorrow's going to get better.
And if you remember our leaderboard, the players we're watching, we got a loaded day 2 as well.
Yes, we do.
Great. Anyhow, you can go over to youtube.com/StarCityGames. Get signed up now. Get updated when new stuff goes to the website. And new stuff is going to the website all the time. Versus Series content, premium archives, open series archives, and there's some content that's exclusive to the YouTube page, like unboxing. So you head over right now to youtube.com/StarCityGames. Get signed up today and get notifications when new stuff goes up on the website.
Boy, today has been an absolute delight. Just day number 1 has been really, really, really good so far. Just gotten to watch a lot of great matches. Just a lot of unique stuff. People just trying new things for week 1. It would have been easy for people to just come here with Abzan and some pretty straightforward stuff. But we got James Newman, we got Matthew Tickle, who's 8-0 coming to this round with his 5-color Rally Ancestor deck, which might be the best deck at this tournament.
We've seen a lot of Abzan, and it's not surprising that people would default to that sort of deck.
Yeah.
Because you got Language, you got Language, you got Nissa, you got some upgrades for the deck, so that's good.
Certainly do.
And if you're wrong with Abzan, it's not by much. You know, it's probably going to be fine. That said, the 2 decks so far that have been the talk of the tournament are the new decks that are preying on mid-range strategies, Turbo Fog, and as you mentioned, the Rally Ancestors deck, which has been really impressive.
Hard not to like. I will say that. I've been impressed by a lot of what I've seen so far. It's just just feels like kind of an open world out there and what you can do.
The question I have is, where are the beatdown decks?
They have to exist somewhere, right?
Because I don't think Turbo Fog wants to play against that.
Nope.
I don't think Rally Ancestors really wants to play against that. It's possible with Language available to Abzan now, the matchup for beatdown decks is a little too hard right now, but we shall see. Have not seen much in the way of goblins or soldiers or Atarka Red, anything like that.
No, there's been virtually none of that stuff this weekend, which has been a little bit surprising. We're underway here in game number 3. A couple temples to start. An island there for Newman. He's got to get those card drawing engines online. That's important. And he does have a Pearl Location in his hand. So it looks like he's sideboarding the creatures a little bit. And Steve is going to pick up on that now that he has cast this Thoughtseize. There's no card drawing engine in hand just yet. I take that back. Dictated Crufex there. There's also Radiant Fountain. Winds of Qualsism.
I'm just not buying the creatures as being a viable strategy against
Me either.
Steve. You see every game, you know, James is not responding to the board at all besides Aether Spouts. So the board just gets gummed up with creatures on defense that don't do anything.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of chump blocking your opponent has the opportunity to do before Pearl Lake actually starts connecting for damage.
I'm just not sure who you can go to the creature plan against, especially a creature that's on the ground.
Yeah.
A flyer, all right, we can have a discussion, but a ground pounder in this green-based metagame that doesn't have trample, I'm not too interested. There's a Radiant Fountain. Rubin going to sacrifice these 2 fetch lands. We'll probably have a forest in the plains on the way, but we'll find out in just a moment. I'll go double forest, maybe a courser coming. Looks like it's time for a death miss raptor. Newman will draw. Gotta find something to get the card drawing going. He's gonna leave that card on top very quickly from Temple of Mystery. Here comes death miss raptor. Newman down to 19.
Pearl Lake seems especially troubled against a deck that's playing with Death Miss Raptor.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not a big fan of the addition.
I mean, if you want it for blue-black control or Esper or decks where your fogs don't work, I could buy that. But for this matchup, I think James should have very close to just presented his same 60 from game one.
Yeah.
Maybe bring in a dissolve, a couple of disdainful strokes, something like that.
There is Nissa. And now Newman will draw. Remember, he kept this card on top real quick. It's a Radiant Fountain that he'll play. There's 5 mana. Icefall region. Yeah, he's going creatures. I'm real curious how this is going to work.
Icefall region I'm much more interested in than Pearl Lake.
I'm okay with Icefall region.
I still don't like the swap.
Yeah.
But if you're going to bring in a creature, I'd much rather it be Icefall region.
Here's Courser, top card, Temple. Tremoka's Command. That feels like it's got to stay.
Yeah.
That seems like it does too much in the matchup to pass up. Sacrificing enchantment is brutal.
What I don't like, about the creature conversion here is go back to game 2. Steve casts an Irrational Cleric on turn 2. That to me is a declaration from Steve of, I can't interact with what you're doing. Like I'm doing the best that I can. I'm just trying to put the best curve of creatures on the table. I've got some discard spells. Maybe I've got a little bit of Tremoka's Command type of action. That's it. I'm just trying to play the fastest game possible. When you side into the creatures, you're allowing Steve to actually interact with the stuff that you're doing, which he clearly can't do easily, even in the post-board games, if he has cards like Irrational Cleric in his deck.
Maybe time for another Icefall Regent? No, okay, he's going to get the orb out there. There's an island past the turn back.
Orb of Warding. Wizards must really love that naming convention. Must love the naming convention of orbs or orb of something
X.
that rhymes. Torpor Orb, Orbs of Warding. Someone who names the cards is giggling at this naming convention. Guarantee it.
I would enjoy it. It doesn't take much to humor me, though. One thing you'll note, Steve did put that Tremoka's Command to the bottom after some contemplation. There's Abzan Charm. There'll be a little bit less damage dealt because of the orbs. Newman will draw.
Newman's still trying to resolve a treasure cruise. Just nothing has gone to his graveyard yet.
Here's Sphinx's Tutelage. Now he's coming from a couple different angles now. And he's got the orbs to defend himself a little bit. He was trying to use some creatures. Now he's going back to the Tutelage route. And now his deck is kind of having a bit of an identity crisis.
Yep.
That appears to be land 7 for Nissa, so it's going to flip now. We'll see what it's going to do. Yeah, it's one thing to see kind of Nissa in theory. It's another one to see it actually in practice. Good card.
I've never said so far today, man, this is really bad right now.
It's
not always the most impressive card,
Yeah.
but it's never been bad.
And Guy's Revenge is what's been cast. It's in the red zone now, along with the other creatures, Death Mist Raptor and Courser. All right, here's a Fog. Looks like Nissa's going to tick down, bring its buddy along.
We've seen a lot of copies of Guy's Revenge in sideboards.
Yeah, helps in the control matchups.
You know what card is very good against this? I found out via Jim Davis.
Oh, I can't wait.
Sultai Charm.
Does that take care of it?
Yep.
Yeah?
It's green. Be on the lookout for that.
Okay. Jim Davis, always one step ahead.
Actually, behind. He's the one who got his Guy's Revenge. Sultai Charm. But yeah, the point, the point stands. I remember reading this card and being like, how are you supposed to kill that thing? And Jim said Sultai Charms. Oh, yeah, that works.
Duh.
Not a counterspell, it's green.
How do you know that happened to you? Yeah, it did. There's Pearl Lake. It's going to block that token. Orbs of Warding is going to help stave off a little bit of damage here.
James has a bizarre board.
Yeah, to say the least.
Little offense, little defense, little miscellaneous.
Yeah, with
Other, little other.
other summed up in a couple permanents as well. Nissa is going to take the land in Sandsep Citadel, place it onto the battlefield from its plus ability. And now other Nissa. Here's a land. Might be time to go to Rhino Town now. And Rhino is what Steve wants to be the finisher.
Yeah.
Deal those points of damage that don't require attacking.
Can't fog that. The upshot of Siege Rhino, though, is it makes Aether Spouts a lot more complicated. If you're able to get James to 3.
Yeah.
Although, with the mill effect out, less the case.
There's Siege Rhino 1. Newman down to 6. I think we're going to have Siege Rhino number 2. Yep, down to 3. And Siege Rhino is another reason I just don't love going to the creature plan.
Yeah.
I understand that Steve does use some of his life as a resource in Abzan Charm and Thoughtseize, but I feel like just too much has to go right for the creature plan to be good, especially a non-flyer.
Yeah, because it's just trivial for Steve to fill up the his board with creatures. That's just gonna happen because James is not interacting with anything.
Yeah.
So how are you ever in a position to attack?
Treasure Cruise drew a couple of cards. Sphinx of Tula is going to mill a couple of cards, but it's looking, unless Sphinx of Tula somehow goes off in a crazy way, it's looking like James Newman's run this weekend is going to come to an end, and what's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And he really leads me to believe that there's probably a deck here somewhere. It is week 1, of course, and you can see probably a little bit of disappointment from him. But the matchups where his deck is good, it's very good, as we saw against Ross Merriam. And gonna probably work on some more plans here for the Abzan Megamorph matchup. some other decks.
I would not have deviated from the core game plan.
Neither would I.
I think that when Steve does something like casting Russian Cleric, it's a declaration of he just does not have enough relevant cards to interact with what you're doing. He's doing the best he can to try to apply a clock, and when your opponent